am very excited to welcome the godfather of prog rock, or should I say the Progfather, the very magical Steve Hackett. Welcome,
well, thank
Steve.
You. Thank you, Claire.
It's so lovely to see you again.
I'm glad you didn't say grandfather, because I'm not yet.
No. You're the Progfather.
The Progfather, yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Yes. People used to talk about John Mayall about this, saying he was the godfather of British blues and all that. Yeah, I'm still carrying a banner for it, for all this complicated music.
Absolutely, you've got to keep going and never stop. Last time we spoke, you had just released your very beautiful acoustic album, Under a Mediterranean Sky. But today we're here to celebrate your live tour, which kicks off next month. Now, this is super exciting, isn't it, for all those die-hard early Genesis fans?
Yeah.
Foxtrot at 50.
Yes, I know. It doesn't seem like 50 years ago that I was doing that. But I remember it very well, touring Italy and doing all those things that you do as a young 22-year-old. It's 50 years ago, but somehow there's something really lovely about the songs, which I think sound sweeter with the passing of time. They certainly do for me, because I haven't had the pressure of playing a lot of this material, for a very long time. So I was just relearning to play Timetable today and thinking, what a beautiful song it is. And it's one of those easily forgotten gems from that. People tend to remember Watch of the Skies and Supper's Ready, the biggies, the big epics. But the little songs are sometimes just as powerful. Not everything needs to be an opus and an epic.
Yeah, well, beautiful pieces. And let's talk about some of the other pieces. You were the lead writer of Can Utility and the Coastliners, based on the legend of King Canute, which sort of takes me back to an old history lesson in school.
Indeed, I know. It was a very deliberately obscurantist title for those who spotted the clue that Canute was in there. It was one of those little conundrum type things that... but yeah, it was the story of King Canute. But what's nice about that track is that I came up with the song and the lyric and all that, and then the rest of the guys kicked in with all this instrumental stuff that followed. And so I got a chance to be a fan of that. I love the section that follows, the song section, because I think it's one of the best mellotron solos. I mean, it's very orchestral, so that sounds beautiful. That bit, it gets into some really great stuff. I've re-recorded it with orchestra, with some real stuff, but somehow the mellotron seems to give it some otherworldly quality, and it still sounds great.
It does, very interesting. It's Steve Wilson's favourite song from the album as well, isn't it?
That's right. Yes, he said that. Yeah, and so I got him to sing it when I did a revisit on my second Genesis Revisited album, which was a double album. I said, "Would you like to sing it?" And he said, "Yeah, okay." And we had that. We had Hammond organ, we had pipe organ on it. We went to town on it. Had real strings. Pulled out all the stops, and nice to revisit it. And now I'll be relearning it again. Ooh. So that's probably next on my list after I've ticked off Timetable. Takes a while to get them in the noggin, but it's worth it, because it's some really great stuff, I think, on that album.
Absolutely, they're ready to come out through the fingers.
Yeah. And we've got Seconds Out coming up. So the last tour, which I've only just put to one side, we've got one more gig, in fact, at Cropredy coming up in a few days' time. Sort of outdoor festival.
I know Cropredy Festival, been many times.
Exactly. So there you are.
Just up the road, yeah.
Just up the road. Looking forward to doing that one. And then we put Seconds Out to rest there. And we go back to Foxtrot, an earlier era from. We go back 5 years from 77 back to 72. But you could say this stuff's dated, but I think it's classic.
It stood the test of time.
Yeah, it has stood the test of time. Certain things have. Certain songs just they're eternally fresh, aren't they? Yeah, I mean, if you go back to the Beatles, sounding eternally fresh, and then all the Bees, Bach, the Beatles, Beethoven. There's a lot of eternally fresh.
And then, of course, the G.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's I've been lucky with bands with the title G on them, with Genesis and GTR. So I probably ought to invent a band.
Do you know what, though? My favourite band name that you've been in has to be Squacket.
Squacket. Oh, well, yeah, that was me and
great name.
Squire and Hackett. Yes,
love
exactly,
it. Yeah. Now we must talk about. It would never work
as a team of lawyers, but you can't carry on. Go on.
Oh yes, we must talk about the 23-minute epic concept piece that is Supper's Ready. It's going to be the concert favourite, surely. It's so theatrical, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's funny, when it was written, I had the idea of doing something that was long form, and I was trying to talk the band into it. And you never knew with Genesis whether they were going to go with an idea or not, but everyone said, yeah, okay, I think we could do that. And so we wrote it in 2 weeks. Now, there were some pieces that were already in existence, which individuals had got, and they brought it, to the pot, as it were. But the whole thing was written in 2 weeks. And that was quite good going, for a piece that length. I've played it many times live. I play it as part of Seconds Out, but it's been the favourite progressive track, according to Progressive Magazine. Head and shoulders above lots of other tracks that I absolutely adore that other people have done, but maybe it's for the sheer audacity of its length that it gets applauded. Yes, it's hardly a 3-minute single, is it? It's
you have to sit back and absorb it. It takes you on an emotional journey, doesn't it?
That's it. Yeah, the idea of long form for people who had time to listen to music, where there perhaps wasn't the distraction of so many things going on. So I suspect that the world that we inhabited then, that we thought was terribly modern, was a little bit slower than now. People's phones weren't ringing all the time. People's mobiles weren't ringing all the time. So I think less people were getting run over crossing the road. It's a different time.
Yeah. And what can we expect from Hackett's highlights?
Well, there are quite a few things. Because it's a shorter album than Seconds Out, I'll be able to do a longer solo set. And I'm looking forward to doing certain tunes. People keep asking me to do Spectral Mornings, so I'll do that. I'm going to do that piece. I'll do Devil's Cathedral as a nod to the latest stuff from Surrender of Silence. So we get to do that. So you do get the ancient and modern side by side. I shouldn't say that about rock, should I? Ancient, but what is old?
That's it.
That's right. So yeah, I think it's going to be really great. I'm looking forward to doing all these tunes. I think they've all got something to offer. They're all a trip in themselves. It ranges from sci-fi, the sci-fi influence of Watcher of the Skies, to the Tudor influenced Horizons, to you've got the sort of the pageantry, but then you've got the proggy stuff and you've got the modern stuff as well. You've got the tricky dicky stuff in there, but it's full of great melodies. So it's music from a time that was pre-video, really. Nobody was really doing videos at that time. So if there was any visualization, it had to be within the song itself. So you had the lyrics, you had the melody, that was it.
You had the fox heads and the groovy costumes.
Well, there was that as well, of course. And so the way we're presenting it, we won't be doing exactly that, but we're doing things that will be comparable, but with updates and with updated technology. Because I do realize that the success of that material in its day was down to presenting it in a very careful way, because you've got to retain people's attention. And, Nad has a lot on his shoulders. It's a lot to follow. Peter Gabriel, at that time, the young Pete, the young Phil Collins, and all of that. But, he has his own style in his own way, and you can see that he lives it and loves it and puts it across, because this is the oxygen that he grew up breathing when he was young and always dreamed of being the Genesis singer. So
that's amazing, isn't it? And he is
material. He is
fine vocal.
He becomes that. So he carries it off very well, and the band are absolutely killer. They're
the rest of your band. Who have you got in your touring lineup?
Okay, we have. We've got Rob Townsend on All Things Blown and lots and lots of stuff. Roger King on keyboards.
Yeah.
We've got Nad Sylvan on vocals. Jonas Reingold on bass. Yeah. Another Swede like Nad. And Craig Blundell on drums.
Tub thumping.
He hits them so hard. I don't know how the hell he does it. But he's been absolutely dynamic. He's been extraordinary. And so, they've all been killer. And sometimes we get joined by Amanda Lehman for certain gigs, and then when she joins, we get to do the whole of Hierophant. So that's been very well received in the gigs that we've just done in Europe. We put that one in, and it goes down absolutely. It's absolutely mega live.
Will she be coming to the show in Northampton? Do you know?
I have to check out which ones she's coming to. I don't know off the top of my head, because she has commitments that are outside of music. Sure. But I do try and twist her arm and say, well, I think you should come along. She's always welcome to do that. It adds a touch of glamour and other things to the boys' club that is,
Well, yeah. Well,
that we are
absolutely brilliant. It sounds wonderful. I can't wait to come and see you. Genesis Revisited, Foxtrot at 50 and Hackett Highlights is coming to Northampton Derngate Theatre on Wednesday, the 28th of September. Tickets can be purchased for that or any of the shows by visiting your website, of course, hackettsongs.com. Steve, you are a wonderful, magical human. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. And the same to you, wonderful, lovely to talk again.